Hello and welcome to... That's Rick's opening line. Actually, when Raider Rick sometimes hosts our shows or our debate shows or whatever, that's his opener. Hello and welcome. What the hell do we mean, Dad? I said we only start 5 minutes late tonight, and that's Hafman time. That's what that's called. Just ask Mom and Dad, because they were always late for almost everything. If anybody knows Mom and Dad, they know that to be true. And if you don't know Mom and Dad, I'm telling you the truth, because that's all we tell you on the show. Welcome in. It's Packer Outright Opinions, Friday night. But Ben is not ready, and so what we're doing is we're starting off talking about the Bucks, because the Milwaukee Bucks are the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Best record in the NBA. What more can I say? And the team is so loaded. I was just filling Ben in on how they got all these guys like Goran Dragic, and they traded for Jay Crowder, but he doesn't even play that much. They're such a deep team with a bunch of veteran guys who've had success in the NBA that they got to do it. The expectations are there. Even if they play the cheap-ass Celtics who will flop around and try to get a bunch of foul calls on them like we know they did last year, that's fine. Other guys get in foul trouble, just bring in more guys, because that's what the Bucks have on their team. A bunch of more guys that can play basketball. So bring them in. Bring them in. They'll do it. It's going to be fantastic. They're going to win it again. Second time in 3 years. I think it's going to happen. Anyway, the Bucks are loaded, and they're doing awesome. Now, did they get their butts whipped by the Celtics last week? Yep. And did I find out that a guy at work is a Celtics fan? Yes, I did. And did I think he was just originally, when he said go Celtics on the tag of his email, ribbing me a little bit? Yes, I did. But then I saw he had Celtics lanyard. He had Celtics tie. He had Celtics stuff all over the place. So he's a big Celtics guy. Well, he also is in charge of the IT department, so I can't piss that guy off too much, or I'm in trouble if there's any problems with my computer. But I told him I'm hoping for an Eastern Conference Finals rematch against the Celtics. And he just said, "Oh, that's okay. We beat you last year. We'll beat you again." Exactly what he said. Exactly how he said it. I was like, that smells like a little bit of overconfidence to me. So, come on, Bucks. Anyway, 58-22. Couple games to wrap up the season, but it doesn't matter anymore because they got the number 1 seed already secured. So resting other guys tonight, giving some other guys a chance to play. Well, actually, Jay Crowder's play is starting tonight. That's how deep this team is. It's crazy. Watch NBA basketball. At least the Bucks are awesome. In honor of Bucks success, we have the honorable old school Buck, Ersan Ilyasova. This brings you back to Saturdays, not the day of the week Saturdays, but sad days that were less happy. When this man, well, the man that is of this bobblehead, Ersan, was at one point the best player on the Bucks. That is sad. But he had 20 rebounds in a game. I watched the game. He had 20 plus point games plenty of times. So he was a valuable piece. Not that great of a player. Should never have been like the leading scorer, main guy in your team. That's where times were at one point. But Ursi was a valuable guy to throw in there and do some tough stuff, take some charges, hit some outside shots once in a while, get some boards, do the dirty work, just like Ben likes to do. So anyway, that's the Ursan bobblehead is excited today. It has to stay in this box because it just increases with value the longer it stays in the box. I couldn't take that one out. Other things I've taken out of boxes, but not an Ursan bobblehead. Are you kidding me? Right, bro?
I don't know.
You know that Ersan was the man. Once upon a time, he was the man. Remember a couple of years ago in the playoffs where he just like came out of nowhere and became the key player in one of the playoff series games? That was fun.
Was it?
No one was expecting it. Yeah, you and I were at a restaurant with Nick and Vinny and watching the game there because we couldn't get anywhere else on TV.
I remember that.
I know you remember it. You were there. You should remember it. So we have Packer news, Ben.
There is no Packer news.
There is too. We'll get to it in a minute. But first, before
Dallin Levitt got signed this week. That was the big Packer news.
Oh, we got Packer news. We got ancillary Packer news. But the biggest thing is, before we get to all that, we got some people starting to come on. We'll get to the Packer news. Ben went to Florida this week, whatever it was. How was it in Florida? Give us a quick recap, but then we'll get to your fun stuff later on. Hot. Florida was hot. All right.
And by Tuesday, it's supposed to be hot here, which sucks.
Yeah, I know. We're getting summer already. I don't like summer so fast. Can we just have a little bit of more of a gradual change in seasons? That's not what we get here.
Why does it go from 30 degrees to 70 degrees?
Because that's what we do in the Midwest, baby. That's how we roll. The bugs like it. They're going to go gangbusters. The birds were mad like last week. Now they're happy and singing beautiful songs. So that's how we roll in the Midwest. All right, Ben. The main Packer news, other than Matt LaFleur not knowing what the hell is going on, is the ancillary Packer news of former Packers getting together, Aaron Rodgers, Alan Lazard, pictured together, training together, likely to be upcoming teammates, but the deal isn't done yet. However, Aaron Rodgers is already making more player acquisitions, with Tim Boyle signing with the Jets earlier this week. How's everybody feel about Tim Boyle signing with the Jets?
I don't care. So Alan Lazard and Aaron Rodgers were hanging out?
Yeah, hanging out, throwing a football around, maybe running a little bit.
Wow, he never did that when he was a Packer.
I know.
Alan Lazard didn't show up for off-season workouts last year, remember? He was one of the guys who didn't show up till the training camp.
And that helped him get $44 million, that loyalty to Rodgers. So.
Apparently, smart move by him.
Hey, loyalty to the king, Rodgers, gets you some coin. That's the way it goes. You loyal, kiss the ring, and be loyal to the power, and you might get some scraps. And Alan Lazard got him, so he's hanging with his buddy. Still says he's the greatest of all time, right? Which I don't know how anyone can say that with a straight face, but Alan Lazard says it.
I don't know. I don't really care. Like I said, I don't know this show. I don't know why we're even doing the show. There's nothing really to talk about.
We're doing a show because it's Friday night and the Packers have, there's still rumors about Packers maybe wanting to go after edge rushers. And I don't like it. I don't want no edge rushers, man. Like maybe later in the draft, it's supposed to be deep edge rushers, right? So just get some guys that can come in and be, rotation guys and all that good stuff. That's fine. There's a lot of talk, I guess, if you want to look at what's ahead for the Packers, a lot of talk about they should probably just trade down. How are we feeling about that, Ben? If we trade down, are you feeling like somebody you want is going to be gone if they trade down?
I've done a lot of mock drafts.
Yeah, I know you have.
Like a lot. And I can tell you this much. If Jackson Smith and Jigba is gone at 15, they should definitely trade down and pick up some more intermediate picks. Because, like late first, second round picks. Because there's a lot of guys they can get later on that'll be good and helpful.
Okay.
Just honest to God truth.
Well, that's fair.
But if that Jackson Smith and Jigba guys there draft his butt at 15.
Is he going to go before Zay Flowers, or is Zay Flowers going to go before him?
Zay Flowers is tiny.
He's small, but he's like shifty as crap and fast.
Don't care. I wouldn't draft him.
Oh, okay.
He's not Packer material.
Not
he can't block. He can't block. Jackson Smith and Jigba can block at the slot position, plus get open. He's got size, shiftiness. He can do it all. He doesn't have the speed, maybe, but he's got agility, and he's got quickness, and he's got good hands. He's a better fit for a Matt LaFleur offense.
You think?
Same thing with like Dalton Kincaid. Everybody's like, Dalton Kincaid. Oh,
come on. He's like a wimpy tight end, right?
He's not wimpy, but he's not a blockier guy.
Yeah, he's not big enough. He's not tough
no.
enough.
He might be able to block, but he just never does. So I don't know. Who knows? Plus, he got hurt last year.
We know the tight end they got to get. So you're saying if they trade down, he'll still be there?
I don't know, but there's a multiple amount of tight ends they could get that would be able to do the job.
I think in this case, I want the best one. Like other
I
years,
don't
we've
know if
been fine, being like whatever. But I want the guy that could be a superstar tight end.
well, I don't know if well, what do you mean superstar? Because I
I
want a
want,
guy who can do all the things.
well, yes, I want a guy who can do all the things too, and who's unique and you don't find all the time. And I want him for our new quarterback because a big athletic tight end that also can block and be on the field all the time is a huge asset to a new first time starting quarterback. So I want the best damn tight end you can get, and I want him as a rookie, and I want him to be starting day one.
Well, I think there are quite a few tight ends that would be just fine to get. So I'm not like I used to think. A few weeks back after the combine, I was like all Darnell Washington crazy, and now I'm like, yeah, he's sure. To me, he seems like he seems like he'd be a Rashawn Gary type, where he's not going to really hit his potential until 2 years from now, which doesn't help the Packers right now. Where they could get a guy like Sam Laporta, who's well-rounded, really good, smooth route runner, and good after the catch as far as breaking tackles and making guys miss and stuff. And he can do a little bit of run blocking in there. He's no Darnell Washington, but he's halfway decent. So
Okay.
he's a guy, and then Mayer doesn't have speed or anything like that, but he's got size. He's more of a Bubba Franks type, where he's just big and
Should we go back
lumbering.
to your top
But
10 tight end list and just revisit how sad that was?
it wasn't that sad.
It was pretty sad. It was pretty sad. In the 100 freaking year history of the Green Bay Packers, some of those guys that made the top 10, come on, man. Come on. And now I know we didn't have all the stats from half of the century before, but still a lot of years of Green Bay Packer tight ends, and that was a pretty sad group. I want to prioritize tight end. Other teams have done it. It seemed to work out for other teams that have done it pretty damn well.
I'm not saying they're not going to prioritize. I'm just saying in the second
Okay.
round, they can get a good tight end.
Well, if they do that though, then what are they not getting?
What do you mean?
Well, what players could be in the second round that might be quality players at other spots that they're not getting if they
There's not much. Not only that, if they trade Rodgers and get one of those second round picks from the Jets,
then
they can get the other guy.
When?
What do you mean when?
When they trade Rodgers. I know he tried to throw something in there about 49ers rumors and stuff. Come on now, that's not happening. We all know that.
All I know is this. Based on my mock drafts,
yeah,
if Jackson Smith and Jigba is not there at 15, there's no reason to stay at 15. Dalton Kincaid is not a guy that I think fits the Matt LaFleur system. I think it's Darnell Washington, Sam Laporta, Mayer, guys like that. And then there's some guys later on in the draft you can get that fit the Matt LaFleur system, like Strange. There's one more guy who's pretty good. I can't remember his name. Now, Chris Sims really likes the guy from Cincinnati, but he's kind of a skinny wide receiver type. So he's kind of like I don't know. And a lot of people talk about Musgrave. Chris Sims doesn't like Musgrave. It's not that he doesn't like him. He just doesn't think he's as good as everybody says he is. He doesn't attack the ball. Now, what's one thing he said about Dalton Kincaid is Dalton Kincaid attacks the ball. Like he snatches it and goes. He's a great receiver. He's great after the catch. He only had 2 drops all last year, and he had like 80 catches. So it wasn't like he wasn't getting targets and he had drops. He was he was doing everything with the ball. So like he is a guy who can, really take the middle of the field down and then give some other guys to work underneath him if he wants to go down the seam or something. But I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's something they have to do at 15 is to go for a tight end. And if Jackson Smith and Jigba's not there, I would trade down. Trade down. Get another pick. And then you can get more guys that are good. Or if anything, just trade up. Trade up to 11 and get Jackson Smith and Jigba.
That's in your eyes, that's who they should go for in the first round.
Yes,
He's the
because
guy.
my thought is this: the wide receivers, like the tight ends, there's like 10, 11, 12 good tight ends. You know what I mean? Like they're all pretty dang good. Wide receivers, it's like there's one guy who's got superstar traits, but his hands are iffy and his route running's iffy. And then there's one guy who's an agility monster, first down catching machine, who can block in the running game. And then after that, it's a bunch of either little fast, twitchy guys or bigger, slow guys. So none of those, we already have all that. We don't need more big, slow guy. We don't need a big, slow guy. We had that with Lazard. He stinks. We don't need another one. Screw it. Let's get a guy who's quick and can block, you know? And then when it comes to little quick guys, we got Bo Melton. We're good. Plus, you can find little quick guys a dime a dozen in later on in the draft.
Oh, dime a dozen, he says.
So when it comes to the wide receiver position, there is only one guy who fits the Matt LaFleur system and would fit with this team at this point with the open vacancies that are there. So that's the guy. And if you got to trade up to get him, trade up to get him.
Just remember, our quarterback now is a little bit taller than the old quarterback. So he could actually see those short receivers over the middle and maybe throw to him more often as well.
Yeah, but it's not just that. It's being able to hold up in the running game.
Okay.
Or even block downfield for your teammates so that they can make plays after they catch it.
Well, I mean, MVS was a wiry guy, but he became a good blocker.
He was a 6'3", 210 pounds. He wasn't small.
He was pretty skinny though. I mean, he was tall.
He was sizable.
MVS sizable, he says. Okay.
He didn't mess around. He wasn't like these guys.
These
guys like 5'9", 170-pound wide receiver. No.
MVS is one of their best wide receiver blockers during his reign. I think he was one of the best guys blocking the whole time he was there. And all everybody talked about was how fast he was, but he was actually a damn good blocker, man.
Now there's Jalen Hyatt, who's 6'1", like 180 or 190 or something.
You like him?
He's super fast. But I don't like him for this offense. Here's the thing. The team needs to change into working with what they have. Like Lambeau Field. They don't play on turf. They don't play indoors. Can we get some guys who are bigger and tougher at wide receiver, but also can get open? Like if there's a guy like that, take him.
And not fall down.
Right. But the little skinny guys aren't doing anything for you. They're not going to block. They're not going to be able to, their agility is gone once you put them on Lambeau Field. Like it doesn't pay. If you're playing indoors, great, fine. Then put a skinny guy. That's like Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is the perfect running back for the Packers because he doesn't rely on just super speed because he doesn't have super speed. He's got okay speed. It's more his ability to cut on the wrong foot that screws everybody up. And that is perfect for the Packers in Lambeau Field because he doesn't have to be on the turf because his cutting ability is not stop and cut, like stop on a dime and cut.
Yep.
It's the swerve. And the swerve you could do on the grass, which is why Aaron Jones works great for Lambeau. But he also can do it. Excuse me. He can also do it on turf too. But I'm just saying, the tight ends are much deeper than the wide receivers are. So I think the tight ends are going to fall. Like whenever you have, now there will be a run on them at one point. Somebody will draft one, and then all of a sudden another guy will draft one, and then the next thing you know, boom, it'll be like boom, 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 they'll start taking them all. And same thing with pass rushers. A lot of good pass rushers. So they don't have to take that in the first round either. So what else do we need as a team? Safety. Okay, well, there's no dynamic starting quality safeties in the draft, period, that don't need some work. So that's not worth a first round pick. Right?
Well, the reason I'm bringing it up, and I guess the reason I'm kind of stuck on it, is because we have talked. We examined the history of Packers tight ends, and it was not very impressive. We have talked about how little they have prioritized it in the last however many years. Last year, just for example, last year's tight ends were super old. Mercedes Lewis. Yes, he was a first round pick like 25 years ago. Great. And then 2 undrafted guys, and that's who they basically played as their tight ends. Now, DeGuara got in there a little bit, but he didn't really play tight end that much. And then you also had all of that stuff, and then you also had the Packers, looking around at some of these other teams who have drafted tight ends, and you see how impactful and the way they use them, especially in the system, right? The way they can use like gifted tight ends in the system, they can be a really, really impactful piece. And now you have a quarterback who might actually throw it to the tight ends over the middle. That's kind of why all those reasons put together is kind of why I'm like really leaning that way and really want them to get the best damn tight end they can get. But I know there's guys that'll be okay. I know there's guys that'll be fine. I don't really want fine. I don't really want okay. And I definitely don't want to waste another pick on a corner. And I don't want to waste another pick on an edge rusher. So I don't know. That's where I'm at.
It comes down to supply and demand, dude.
I get it.
Just like anything, if there's a supply of tight ends and there's like 11 and 12 that are good, the demand is not as high. You can wait till later because you'll get one. But when it comes to wide receivers, where the supply is dwindles after the first couple, to niche players or slow guys, then what are you doing? Or guys coming off injury? Like there's a guy like Sidney, or what's his name? I think it's Rashid Rice or something like that, who looks okay. There's Cedric Tillman from Tennessee. He looks okay. But they're like in the vein of like, they're kind of like Romeo Dobbs. We already have. Both those guys are kind of like Romeo Dobbs-esque guys. So, and they're going in like the early third round, late second. So they're going to be gone. After our second pick, they'll be gone. And they won't be there usually when it comes down to our third, at least in all the mock drafts I've done. And those guys are solid players who could be good, and one of them's coming off injury, but they're not as dynamic in the run blocking, not as dynamic in getting open, and not as dynamic at catching as Jackson Smith-Njigba is. Period. He's just a better player at all those type of things, which is a key role that's needed on this team. Now, can you draft Dalton Kincaid at 15 as a slot tight end with some speed and can go up the field? He won't have the agility, but he can do that. And then in the second round, after you trade Rodgers, you have 2 picks. Then you take Darnell Washington. That would be insanity land to take 2 tight ends.
Oh.
But you would you'd have the Robert Tonyan and you'd have the Mercedes Lewis. You take them round 1 and round 2, and then you play a 2 tight end set almost all the time.
What?
And you don't even worry about a third wide receiver because you don't need it. And then you run the ball all over these guys, and these other teams would be playing nickel. Well, okay, fine. Play nickel. We'll kick the crap out of you if you play nickel, because we'll have 2-3 tight ends in there. Bring in Josiah DeGuara and just have Christian Watson over there all by himself, have him run deep. And then you got 3 tight ends and Aaron Jones. And we'll school them. I mean, there's a lot. You could do all these things. But that's only if you, as a Packer, as a Gutekunst, believe that Kincaid is that dynamic as a receiver at tight end, and it's worth doing that, then fine. Otherwise, if you don't think Kincaid is, because he doesn't help your blocking. I mean, a little bit, but not as much, right? And he didn't test at the combine, so nobody knows like his testing stats. I don't know if he had his pro day or not yet. I haven't checked. But by trading back, you pick up an extra pick. Then you could draft two different tight ends. You could take Kuntz from Old Dominion in like the 5th round or 4th round, who's a sizable guy who can catch downfield, who's got some height. And you could take Strange, or there's a couple other guys who are big bruiser guys who can block and whatever. If that's what you want to do. I would rather see them take an all-around player like Sam Laporta or Darnell Washington. Maybe Mayer, but Mayer doesn't have like the high upside that Washington and Laporta have. Laporta is a guy, if you draft him, he can play right now and he'll make plays. And he'll be a key, like he'll be ready to go now. Where Washington, you might have to get him on track. But yeah, and then Strange is who's really good too. So it's like, and looks like he's going in like the 3rd round or so in a lot of my mock drafts. So you can trade back and get a couple good tight ends instead of wasting the 15th on Dalton Kincaid. And then, what are you doing after that?
I mean, you think the Packers will draft 2 tight ends in this draft? Probably, right?
They don't have any.
Right. They got to get him somehow.
I mean, they got Davis and that's it, right? What the hell is he? He ain't any good.
Right.
He can't do it. How many balls he drop in the preseason? And come on,
and he
terrible.
doesn't block anybody, and he's
a former quarterback that they moved to tight. They got to stop doing the draft the quarterback who used to be a tight end, or tight end used to be a quarterback, like, or a tight end used to be a wide receiver, like Tunyon. Who also, he was a tight end, used to be a wide receiver, used to be a quarterback.
Yeah.
And then they draft these linebackers used to be quarterbacks, right? Like, what's his face? Our guy Summers.
Oh, Ty.
He used to be a tight end, or used to be a quarterback. Anyways, and they smartened up and decided that last year they're like, you know what, we're just going to draft a linebacker who's a linebacker, and then they did, and then he's fast and big and monstrous, and okay, that's why he was a linebacker, because he's fast and big and monstrous, and it works because brains alone aren't good enough in the NFL right now. You need to just be sizable and smack the crap out of dudes, and hopefully not hit him after the play's done. He's got to work on that, but otherwise he's fine.
Right. All right. Well, that's all good. Okay, now that Lee's here and some other people here, I don't know how they're feeling about the Rodgers situation, but the Rodgers situation is interesting because now the thing is the deal's basically done, right? And so Packers, they're going to line it up to get it done before draft night or on draft night. I guess the question is, will they wait until right before the pick that they get from the Jets before the trade is finalized, or will it happen, before that, days before, same day? I don't know.
I think that'd be so dumb.
It would be dumb.
Because what if there's a guy they like who's at the end of the first round? They can use one of those 2 picks and like a third to trade up into the late first round to get the guy they like. But if they wait to trade Rodgers and get the pick right before the pick, well, that's just dumb. Because then you're what's the point? Just do it, get it over with. Then you have the picks. You can react to what's going on in the game. Like maybe you have to trade that first round pick at 15 and a third to move up a little bit to get the guy you want at like 11 or something. If there's a guy that you really want. I don't know. I think it's dumb to wait. So I know they're like, wait till the last minute. But if they wait until the day of the draft, second round picks start coming off the board, and they wait until it's almost pick 40 before they make their Rodgers trade, that's stupid. They're wasting an opportunity to possibly trade up and get a player that they could use.
I agree. Now, there's a couple different philosophies here, and that's one thing. The only thing I'll ask about this is pose to everybody that's here, because we had Justin sign in, William G's here, Lee's here, a couple others. Some people are saying they want Rodgers traded to a specific team. Some people are saying, and they still think it's the Jets, but then some people are like fantasizing, maybe it'd be New England or maybe it's San Francisco. Anyways, none of those things will probably happen. It's probably going to be the Jets. But other people are like, trade him wherever you can get the best thing for him. And then there's people like you who just want it done. I don't care. So
I don't care.
How does everybody feel about the Packers holding out, trying to get the best deal they can get? Or do you just want it to be over? Let us know what you think. I mean, I kind of want it to be over too. And personally, I don't give a crap where he plays. He could go play in San Francisco. He could play anywhere. I really don't. He could play for Minnesota. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me one bit. But
I would love to see him play for Minnesota. Then we can laugh at Mo. But
Viking Mo.
It just seems like I said, that day it happened. I was like, I mean, it's good to hear it, but until I see him with a Jets board behind him or whatever, another team behind him, I will never, ever believe, not believe, but I will never let my guard down. My guard is still up.
Your guard's still up.
That douchebag jerk face can screw this up yet. He said, my intention is to play for the Jets. Not I'm going to play for the Jets or I want to play for the Jets. My intention. And people can change their intentions, especially that guy. He changes his mind all the time. and who knows what'll happen. So I don't really care. Just get it done. Let's move on. Let's do the Jordan Love era. Let's just, get it over with already. I don't care. Trade it for a freaking piece of gum. And I don't know, a mixtape.
Mom wants it over. Mom wants it over.
Yeah. Who doesn't?
Look, yeah, I mean, but it's weird. I mean, I don't know why it's quite taking so long, but who knows what. Maybe the Jets are trying to do him a favor. Maybe it's just who knows what. Anyway, I definitely think they got to do it before the draft to give, like you said, because you never know how things are going to unfold there, and you want to be able to react. However, you want to have basically everything loaded, like all your ammo before you go into it, right? Because then whatever happens, you have everything at your disposal that you can possibly react with. And if you're waiting, till we get into the second round or whatever, or crap like that, it's going to be dumb. What does Zero say? Hey, Zero says odds that the Jets give up on the trade. No, Zero. It's not happening. Jets are not giving up. Jets are desperate. Now they did sign Tim Boyle. Maybe he could be a starter. I don't know. Could he start for him? He's better than Zach Wilson, and they just signed him off the street. So who knows? But probably not. Rodgers is going there, or he's not playing at all. That's the only thing I can think of.
I don't know. I'd like to see him not.
Kids are asking me questions.
Anywhere.
Ooh. Well, me too, but oh, hey, here's an interesting stat. I invited Viking Mo to come on. Maybe he was too busy. I don't know. Point is, though, since we're talking about quarterbacks, I saw something the other day, like a comparison for Kirk Cousins, where he ranks in the history of Viking quarterbacks.
Okay.
If you remember how good people thought Dante Culpepper was for a while.
I didn't think he was good.
Well, I know you didn't, but he put up some stats. He put up some numbers. He had, Randy Moss to throw to and some other stuff, right? And all this.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins is better than him. Got better stats than him.
Yeah.
More yards, more touchdowns, way better than Dante Culpepper. He's basically like the second best quarterback the Vikings have ever had.
Yeah.
But the whole time, all the Vikings fans want to just get rid of him. Now, did they pay him way too much money? Sure, they did. Of course they did. But that was their choice. But it's just really funny for a team that he's literally their second best quarterback, and he hasn't like outlived his welcome, and generally he's been a good teammate, good representative of the organization, guy that shows up and works hard, is encouraging to his teammates. I don't know why they want to get rid of him all the damn time. Completed 80% of his passes in the last playoff game. I mean, what do you want from the guy? What do you want? Him to fix all your boo-boos on your team, like make your defense better? He can't do that. All he can do is be Kirk Cousins. And, there's plenty of quarterbacks that can't make up for deficiencies on their team. We've seen that before. Have we not lived through that for years? Anyway, I just thought it was interesting. There was like a comparison with him and other players that were much higher in Viking lore with their fan base, much more popular than him. And he's better than most of those guys. Okay, Rick. Rick wants to get the trade done. Nothing good will come from dragging it out. Maybe the Jets get sick of the drama. No, come on now. Nobody have all that stuff on there. Got to admit, what Jets are doing is pretty cool by signing all the old Green Bay guys. 12 going anywhere else would be comedy. Yeah, true. I mean, come on. Tim Boyle signed with them. Come on, man.
That's a Nathaniel Hackett thing.
Watch the Jets pull a fast one and claim Lamar. Nah, come on. That's not happening. I mean, it could be, right? It could be. But, Rodgers really liked Tim Boyle. They got along well. It's still, still something that's favorable for him. Comfortable for him. Anyway, we're already in April, guys. Thank goodness the draft is coming up in just a few weeks. So all this crap is going to be over. and there's going to be exciting new players added to the Packers roster. And we'll dive into some draft type stuff coming up here in the next couple of weeks. We just did not have much time this week because I was busy with some stuff, and Ben was busy. Going to tell us now, Ben. Tell people about your Florida trip. What did you do? Where'd you go? What'd you see?
Well, Friday we had a snowstorm. That was fun. So because of that, when the airplanes got to Minneapolis, they couldn't go out again. So they put them in storage or something overnight. So then we left Rochester at 9 in the morning and took a shuttle to get up there. But it was really crappy roads, so we didn't get there until almost 11 o'clock. And our plane was supposed to leave at 12:45, and we were freaking out because when we got there, there was like 140 call-ins at the airport. So the check-in line, where you have to take your shoes off and do all that kind of crap, instead of having 2 lines for that, they went down to 1 because they didn't have enough people show up. So this one line was like freaking forever and a year. And my wife was like, oh my God, we're never going to get to the plane by 12:45. And we kept checking the thing to see if it was delayed or anything. And it kept saying it was on time, 12:45, on time, 12:45. So we were like, oh crap. And it was getting close. It was almost 12 o'clock and we weren't even anywhere near get through the checkout. And then all of a sudden the airport opened up the other side. Like they must have had some people show up or something. And we happened to be at the right time, at the right spot at the right time. So we were way from the other side, but we were like on the turnaround way in the back, and it was right next to where the thing opened. So we like one of the first people that got to go through the new opened up checkpoint, which is awesome. Then we get to our spot, to our plane, where it's going to be leaving from. And we get there and there's no plane. And they're like, yeah, the plane's not here. And they still didn't change. They said it's going to leave at 12:45. And it was like 12:35 and there was no plane there. And I was like, well, the plane's not going to leave at 12:45 when there's no plane, obviously. And then he's like, they're like, yeah, I guess it's in storage. We're waiting for them to bring it here. They got to clean it up and bring it here. And we're like, oh, okay. So then they're like, the plane's delayed. The plane's delayed till 1:30. And we're like, oh, okay. So we sat there. Then all of a sudden the plane was delayed till 2. And then the plane was delayed till 2:30. And then the plane was delayed till 3. And then they just skipped a half an hour and the plane's delayed till 4. Then it came back and then it was like about 2:15. And then it jumped to the plane is going to be there. It's supposed to depart at 2:30. And we're like, the plane's not even here. And it's 2:15. There's no way we're leaving at 2:30. Like, why would they change it from 4 back to 2:30? And then we went and talked to there's like a guy there and he was like, yeah, I don't know. We're not leaving at 2:30. It's just dumb. And they're like, and then all of a sudden, because everybody, once it said 4, everybody, like a bunch of people went and took off and get food and stuff, right? But then they get a thing on their phone saying, hey, it's leaving at 2:30 now. And those people left at like 2 when it switched to 4. They went to go get food. And all of a sudden now it says it's 2:30. So all of a sudden all these people start coming running back from way the crap where they're getting food from. And they're all running back. And then they're like, well, the plane's not even there. And they're like, well, and then the people are like, oh yeah, sorry about that. And then they're all mad. And I'll say this, one of the greatest things I saw, there's this one guy, and I'm calling you out, you ding dong. Anyways, because the play is delayed, everybody's plane is delayed. It's not like, what are we going to do? Like, right? Well, this one guy goes up there. Are you ready for this? And he's like, he goes up to the one of the people and he's all, getting all pissy. And he's like, hey, I had to leave my dog's vet appointment today early just to be here to get on this plane. Blah, 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 blah. And I need to talk to somebody about getting my money back and blah, or, getting some kind of compensation and all this stuff. And the guy at the thing was like, listen, man, everybody's waiting. If we went on time, you would have had to leave your dog's vet appointment. I'm assuming that someone else is there. Yeah, you didn't just leave the dog there, right, guy? And he was like, I had to leave my dog's vet appointment early. And the guy's like, listen, we're sorry about that. We're trying to get it taken care of. We don't know when it's going to be here. And the guy was cool. He's like this old guy who was like the guy sitting at the desk or whatever. And then this other guy, one more time, he's like, well, this is ridiculous. I mean, I had to leave my pet as vet appointment early. And then the guy was just, this is the coolest thing I ever saw. The old guy who was at the desk, he's like, sir, shut up and sit down. Like, just like everybody else. We're all waiting for the plane. That's the lamest story I ever heard. Shut up, sit down. And the guy just, he didn't know what to do. Because he just spent like 15 minutes, Karen in it, right? Like the Karen thing where he just bitches about shit for no reason, like, just because he's a dumbass. And he just was shocked because like the guy was just straight up just said, just shut up and sit down. Sir, he's like, sir, I've explained to you what the problem is. Please shut up and sit down. And the guy's like, and he's like, yeah, just go. And I was just like, whoa. And the guy, like, he put his tail between his legs and walked back. And I was like, nice. Because Jesse and I were sitting right next to the desk because we got there super, like right away. Or not right away, but we were worried about making it on time. Anyways, there's a whole long thing. We didn't get to Florida. We were supposed to get to Florida at 6:00 or 5:30. We didn't get there until 11 because the plane was delayed so long. And so our whole first part of our trip was toast because we were supposed to go to the resort and do a bunch of crap, but we didn't do any of it. So whatever. But then the next day we went to Disney World. My daughter played drums and marched her marching band. The high school marching band marched at Disney World. So we got to watch that, videotape it and stuff, and hang out at Disney World. And then the next day, we went to the Star Wars Galactic Cruiser, which is crazy. And we did that, which was, super expensive and probably dumb, but I'm a nerd and my wife's a nerd. So there you go. And we did this Star Wars Cruiser thing. And, I made a lightsaber the next day. Got a lot of nerdy pictures of me with a lightsaber. I'm a nerd. It was fun. And now I'll be paying for it for like the next 5 years, paying off the, my debt here. So there you go.
That's awesome. I was trying to upload the video you sent and it wasn't working because of the file format, I think. So I do have it though. I do have it. I'll do this MacGyver way, old school.
Don't do the one with me with the thrust mover.
Why not? That's the good one. That's the only one I had.
That's a joke. Don't show that to anybody.
Why? That's a great one.
It's on a loop. It doesn't. I didn't actually do that. It just goes to the back point and it starts again. So
you said that to me on purpose.
It looks like I did a double pump, and I didn't do a double pump. I just was in the move, and where the video is shot, it just goes and double pumps.
Ah, come on, man. That's all right. I'm gonna change it to a different video file, and we'll show it next week.
Yeah, don't do that.
All right. I don't have anything else to say except, man, important.
There's nothing to say. Down Levitt.
Stuff to say. We could have been more. I guess the only last thing I want to say is I'm really disappointed in Matt LaFleur. He has no vision, right? Does he have enough vision? I mean, if he can't see what even like clowns like us can see, like what the hell, man? How can he not see the possibilities? How does he not understand how bad? Because I like the things they did. We've talked about this before. We like the guys they signed back. Those are the guys they should have signed back. So the GM is doing his job. Will the coaches put the right pieces in the right spot? Right? Because it has to both happen. The GM only has so much control. They provide the players. Yes, they have some input, but the coaches ultimately decide who gets on the field and at what positions. And for him just to dismiss the idea of Rasul Douglas possibly playing safety when a reporter brings it up, because that reporter listens to our show, smart reporter, and then just says his best spot for us is on the outside, that there's no vision there. That's all you've seen of him. You saw him play the slot, and that didn't go as well. So then you just say that his best thing he can do is on the outside. But you don't put together the strengths you've seen from that player, and you compute that with his size, and you can't visualize what that might look like in this spot where he is playing a safety position where he can always, doesn't have to necessarily be way off to the side of the field, and can look and identify things and use some of his incredible strengths to the advantage of the defense. It's really disappointing to me, and it pisses me off that he just made like such a strong statement kind of dismissing that. I don't know. It still bugs me. It's like weeks later, right? But I'm still like, just I don't know. Bothers me.
I don't know,
How
man.
do you feel? Anybody
I
else
don't
have a
care.
problem about it? You don't care?
Well, I want to see him do something, you know,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it's going to happen. You know, can he he's got to prove himself this year. Period.
Rasul?
No, Matt LaFleur.
Oh, Matt LaFleur. Okay.
He's got to prove he can coach. He's got to prove he can see things. He's got to prove that he can put his players in the best position to have them succeed. Because at this point, he has not done any of it. He's just let Rodgers take control.
Yeah.
And we've watched a team go three. Either they go down and score on super long, boring drives, or they go 3-and-out. That's all they do. Until finally last year with Christian Watson, where there was some playmaking, like deep, okay. 8 times we had MVS on deep bombs for touchdowns. Otherwise, what else? Once in a blue moon, you'd have the Robert Tonyan touchdown deep, or the Alan Lazard who snuck past some guys for some unknown reason nobody knows. Okay. But most of the time, it was just Aaron Jones who had to break a long run at the start of the second half to get us out of the rut that we were in the whole second quarter. And that happened a bunch for a couple of years there, where Aaron Jones was the lightning rod who got us a 40-yard run or 30-yard run at the start of the second half, or one time against Detroit, he ran the one up the middle for 70-some yard touchdown, 75-yard touchdown. And those weren't things that Matt LaFleur came up with. It's weird because it seemed like 2019, like remember that Seattle playoff game? There were so many cool routes. Like remember they had the angle route, or the rub route that was like a fake rub route where it looked like this, and then they come back out and went like this and messed up the defense, and then touchdown to Devontae on that fake rub route. They had cool things going on that first season, 2019. And then once Rodgers took over the offense, LaFleur took a step back and let him just do whatever, and it turned into the just look at Devontae and throw it to him crap. And then last year, when he didn't have Devontae, Rodgers didn't know what to do. And it took us until we had Christian Watson, who was a game breaker, to finally change some things and get all crazy, right? So that's the biggest difference I would say is in this year is we have to see a return to form in 2019. And because we saw a little bit of it in 2019, I think LaFleur is excited to run an offense again, to come up with a game plan, to attack a team. His only problem was in the past, if it didn't work, right? Remember 2019, even in 2019, if the plan didn't work, they got blown out.
Yeah.
Like they could not move the ball. They couldn't figure out how to adjust. They had that first season, we had the San Diego game. I can't remember there's 2 other games where I think it was one of the 49er games or something the first time, and something else. And we just got destroyed. And there's nothing they could do because he gets it. If the plan doesn't work that he comes up with, he cannot figure out what to do after that. So
you just say that Matt LaFleur is the Kirk Cousins of head coaches. Is that what you just said?
He is actually. Yeah. That's exactly what he is. When the plan works and he can do it. And the worst part is he hasn't had to coach in 3 years. So now what's he going to do? I hopefully he's really digging in. Hopefully he's understanding what players he has. He knows who these guys are, what their best abilities are, and he can really, 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 really use these guys, their best abilities, and make things happen. And I just want to see Josiah DeGuara out there more, because I think Jordan Love and Josiah DeGuara have a really good connection, and that's going to help move the chains.
Mm-hmm.
If they draft tight end, that's great, but I still want to see Josiah DeGuara out there because I think he's smart and he's able to find the hole in the zone, and I think Jordan Love will look to him.
Do you think we need? Let me ask. Here's an interesting question. Do you think we need to see the pony package, or is it better to have one of the backs in and have DeGuara in there instead, and not the 2 backs, Jones and Dillon, on the field at the same time? Remember, that was supposed to be an emphasis from last year, but I don't know that it was all that effective, and I don't know that they need it.
It was effective 2 years ago when they still had Devontae, because teams were worried about Devontae. So you had usually a corner, and then the safety would cheat to Devontae's side or whatever it was. And then you would have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, and then one of them would move in motion and then would take that linebacker with him, which would then give you a really nice, like, 5-man box in the defense, 5 or 6-man box, which we had enough guys to block then. We had 5 guys to block all those guys or whatever. And that worked out really well. And I believe that's a good way to do it. I think if they do a pony package, I would like to see a pony package, but with a 3 wide receiver set. So if you're going to put A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones in the game, give me wide receivers, which forces the defense to play a dime defense, or at least, or maybe a nickel, but probably would go to the dime because there'd be 3 receivers, and they, I don't know what they would do. And then that puts little guys out there.
Mm-hmm.
Takes away the help in the box. It allows A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones to utilize their best attributes against smaller guys. In an Aaron Jones case, he can still run through guys. He's big enough, especially littler guys.
He's strong.
And you can move those guys in motion and all this other stuff, which will take guys out of the box and make things happen. If they don't go in motion with it, well, okay. Well, then you swing it to Aaron Jones, and he's out there with Christian Watson blocking for him instead of Devontae or whoever else is out there blocking, right? But it would be a better way to attack the team. So I don't want to see pony package with tight ends. I don't think it works. I want to see pony package with wide receivers. And then I want to see, when they do have tight ends in the game, then I want to see fullback, and I want to see DeGuara. So if you're going to bring all these guys in, force the linebackers to cover the DeGuara and to cover the tight end, because you're going to be playing bigger. And then these linebackers who aren't the best at covering and aren't the smartest at zone coverage will allow guys like DeGuara, and hopefully the guy they draft, whoever it is at tight end, to be able to find that open spot in the zone or to beat that coverage of a linebacker, because they're not going to be able to stick with them in the passing game. And then in the running game, you can take advantage of angles and stuff and move DeGuara in motion and have him lead up to the middle and do cool stuff like that. And especially if you get like Darnell Washington, who's a big guy blocking. Those are all things they can do. It's the same thing that the Packers did back in the 90s when they would put Dorsey Levens in there in a single back set. They spread out the defense, put in a bunch of receivers, and let Dorsey run all over the guys, right? And so maximize what your guys are best at by dictating to the defense what formation and what type players you want to see them play. And then see how they adjust. And if they don't adjust, or if it's not working, well, then okay, then you got to change some stuff around. But you got to be able to do that. You got to be able to understand, formations, what kind of units you have on the field, and then also maybe your opponent has got a good secondary, right? Okay, well then play bigger guys. Then don't do the pony. Then maybe come up with a new package. Do a pony package with 3 tight ends, and just plow over everybody. I don't know. But that's the kind of stuff I want to see. I want to see LaFleur be able to attack the weaknesses of the opponents instead of just go out there and run the system, which obviously they ran the A-Rod system for the last 3 years, which is just the same dumb thing over and over again, and everybody knew what was going to happen. And the 49ers proved it in the playoff game 2 years ago. You just show up, you line up in one way, and then you change right before the snap, and Rodgers has no idea what to do. And people figured that out. So we'll see if LaFleur can't change and can't adjust and can't utilize his players to the best and can't attack the weaknesses of his opponents, then he should be gone too. We don't even know if he's good. I don't know.
Right. When was the last time someone had a job for that long and you didn't even know if they could do the job?
It's pretty sad. I mean, honest to God. And it's all because of Rodgers.
Yeah.
I mean, Rodgers, the way Rodgers plays is good enough to win games in the regular season.
Yep.
And that's the truth.
That's been proven. He's got a good regular season record.
Right. But it can't win the playoffs. And that's the truth too. And for LaFleur to win the regular season and win the playoffs, he's got to coach the team like a smart coach, like a guy like a Kyle Shanahan, guys like that. Will he be able to do it? I don't know.
All right. Well, now I feel like I've contributed to the show after coming up with that little bit, because it's been sticking like in my craw here for a while. It's just been bugging me ever since he kind of dismissed that. I was like, man, come on. I don't know. Why would you even do that? Why would you even shut that down right there? I don't get it. I hope he changes his tune, or somebody else is smart on the defensive coach is like, maybe we should take a look at this. Maybe we should try this out.
The other thing is he wants to play Keyshawn Nixon on offense sometimes, and it's like,
I mean,
why?
but then they'll know what kind of things he'll be in for, right? It's predictable. That's kind of the part.
Well, the thing I would say is this: the reason why Keyshawn Nixon is so good at returns is because he has no fear. It's not that he's that much better than any other player, and it's it's especially on punt returns, but also on kick returns. It's kind of chaos, right? Everybody's running around. You're trying to grab and get in front of your guy and block him and all this kind of stuff. And you got 11 guys going all different ways. It's not like a set play. It's not something that's organized and you can use the guy's speed or agility or awareness or whatever to take advantage of it. He doesn't have experience running the ball. He doesn't have experience catching the ball. He doesn't have experience running plays and following blockers and doing all this kind of stuff. What he does have is incredible courage, no fear whatsoever. He'll pick it up off the bounce. He don't care. Just pick it up and he goes and he just runs. And he's great in space. Now, if you run like a screen pass to him, that might work. I'd like to see that. But I sure don't want to see him in the slot. I sure don't want to see him on an end around because I don't think end around would work. Because people be waiting for him. You got to get him. You have to get him the ball kind of sneakily when people are looking for it. And on end around, people will be looking for that. But on a screen pass, maybe they won't. I don't know. They probably still would. I just don't like it. I know a lot of people are like, oh, Keyshawn Nixon. Woo-hoo. I'd rather have Aaron Jones do that same play. I'd rather have Christian Watson on an end around because he's faster than lightning and he's super tall and he'll run over guys. You know what I mean?
Yep, I got you. I'm with you on that.
So, but I mean, those are things like he's thought of that stuff to do. Well, he can't think of he doesn't know what running back's in the game halftime. It's the kind of stuff that just drives me nuts. And he needs to become a better coach. And this is the year. Let's prove it. Let's go. Be the man. And if things go bad, it's going to fall on his head this year. Because there's no longer where he can use the Rodgers shield. He can blame Mike Pettin. He can blame Joe Barry for the defense stinking up a joint. You're the head coach. If you don't like how they're playing, if you don't like that they're playing off 10 yards all the time, freaking goddamn get on the guy and tell him to stop playing off so far all the time. And if you don't do it, then be gone and get somebody new. But I like him. I think he's a good guy. I think 2019 was successful because the system was ran and he was smart with it and Rodgers ran the system. But Rodgers didn't like being a game manager. Mm-hmm. And then it all went to hell after that. Even though he won his 2 MVPs, the team wasn't as good. The offense wasn't as good. The team didn't score as many points, period, as they did in 2019. That's the truth. Now, Nathaniel Hackett was here at that point too, coming up with plays in the red zone. Who knows? Like maybe he was the guy who came up with the fake the fake rub route. I don't know who came up with the fake rub route. That was a great play.
Nathaniel Hackett. You might have been.
Might have been Nathaniel Hackett.
I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting to see that they made the, they kept Bisaccia around. Is the front office and the management of the team like, well, now we're gonna get to see if LaFleur can handle it, and if he can't, well, you're out, and maybe we'll promote Bisaccia, man. Maybe that's what they're doing. I don't know.
I'm not a fan of Bisaccia as head coach.
I know you're not, but I'm just saying they might be
I've seen his interviews
here a little bit. They might be hedging their bets.
I think he's a good special teams type guy because he's a rah-rah guy, and he's a like run through the wall for me guy.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a schematic type leader. I don't think he's able to.
But not all head coaches have to be. They can, the head coach can just be the head coach. We've gotten in this era of the NFL where the head coach is always like, an offensive guru and creates the offense and all this stuff. But that's not the way it used to be. And not all teams are still constructed that way. Some teams still have a head coach. Just a freaking head coach manages all the crap.
But the biggest problem is if your team is successful, which is what everybody wants, the guy who's coming up with the plans, if it's not the head coach, it's the offensive coordinator or the defensive coordinator. And those guys are going to get head coaching jobs. And then you have to come up and find up another guy who can maybe put all that stuff together and do all those things. So we need our head coach to be the guy who schemes things up and understands what's going on and takes advantage of it.
Do the Lions need it? The Lions
I think they do. What would have happened, do you think, if they would have lost their offensive coordinator? Because everybody was saying how
then they'd be in trouble.
And he stayed. Well, what's going to happen next year? Because if they're successful again, he will get a head coaching job somewhere. Yep. Might be a Packer head coach. I don't know. But who knows? But I'm just saying, like, is Dan Campbell's offense the same without whatever that guy's name, Ben, whatever the hell his name was.
He's got
I
Ben
don't- I can't remember
Johnson.
what- Ben John, whatever. Yeah. Is it going to be the same? Is it
It's
going to
like,
be
it's
as
like the
dynamic?
most boring name of anybody, like Ben Johnson. I mean, it's pretty boring. Not the Ben
Right.
part, but I mean, it's just there's.
Well, Ben part's boring too. But who's? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
true. You got to
it's
find
one-
somebody
it's one
new to
thing-
step in.
You do need to lead the team, and you do
Yep.
need to be able to like own it and have your team reflect your personality and all that kind of crap, right?
Yeah.
And that's great, but you also need to be able to freaking figure out how to freaking attack the opposing team. And if you can't figure that out, or if you have to keep replacing guys and then kind of find a new guy who's able to do that, that's pretty hard. I
Yeah.
would think, which is why a lot of teams want to go with an offensive head coach, because the game is offensive.
Yeah.
Defense is important. If you have a dominant defense, you're going to win a lot of games. There's no doubt about it. But most of the defenses that are dominant are because the players are really good, not necessarily the scheme.
Yep.
But who knows?
All right. Well, we'll see. You're right. I mean, if you got to find guys to replace like that to run the strategic parts, it can be tough. But hey, if that gets you some big success or a Super Bowl in there, and then it kind of falls apart for a while, well, big deal, I guess. I don't care. I'll take it. It's just another way. It's just another different way to look at it, because it can work. It has worked in the past. It's currently working in the NFL. Yes, there's risk, but there's risk to everything. So who the hell cares? I'm just saying, if the guy is not head coach material where he cannot command the team and manage all the stuff and manage his people, then what the hell good is he? Then he should be a coordinator, not a head coach. And maybe that's what Matt LaFleur ultimately should have been the whole time and should still be. I don't know. It didn't seem like a head coach to me. That's all I'm saying.
Well, we'll find out this year.
All right. We'll find out. You'll find out. We
Oh, wait,
found
we
a
gotta
couple of
say-
better things to talk about here at the end of the show. What's that? What do you got?
Justin Nelson wanted to know what color saber I used. Well, here's the deal.
color saber.
I wanted to do green, like Luke Skywalker,
Yeah. Instead, you went dark.
but my wife and I decided we were going to go different colors. And she was going to do different colors. And all of a sudden, she's like, "I'm going to do green now," and I'm like, "Well, all right,
That's
whatever.
the
I
way
don't care."
it's
Because you could change your color. You could change your kyber crystal, which changes your color. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I could, if I want to be green, I'll just steal hers one day when she's not looking, and then I'll be green. So it's fine. So I picked purple because I thought the other two colors that you could be when you first make it are blue and red. And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure you can get blue and red pretty easy. You can find those pretty easy in the shop after, because you can buy different colors after. But I wasn't sure about purple. So I took purple originally. And then after we bought a blue, clear, like a white, like a Ahsoka Tano. Her lightsabers are white. And yellow. And I switched my purple out for yellow. So
Yeah.
now I have a yellow lightsaber. So I'm kind of like, my thinking is, I'm a Jedi, but I'm like a scoundrelly Jedi, like I'm not bad. I'm just like, I'm not really a Jedi. I'm whatever. I'm like a dude with the Force who's got a lightsaber and does cool stuff. But I'm not like following the ways of the good guys. But I'm not a bad guy. I'm like I'm a regular guy. I'm like Han Solo if he was a Jedi. That's me.
There you go. Yellow, the color of dehydrated
Pee.
urine.
Yeah. Or something like that.
Because hydrated urine should pretty much be clear if you're well hydrated. Anyway, okay. Well, I'm glad that that's what you
Whoa.
went with, because now I can talk about your pea saber whenever you want me to. That sounds awesome.
No, then
I'll
I'll
show
change the
the-
color.
I'll show the video next week. We'll have a better show next week. I think we found a few good things to talk about in the second half. But everybody take care of yourselves. Be good, stay good. And yeah, the draft is coming up. The drama, the nonsense will all be over soon. But hopefully you've taken a break from it like I have. I haven't been paying attention to the Rodgers stuff for a while. It's been fun.
I've been in Florida. I haven't paid attention to jack squat.
Tune out, but tune in next Friday night for Hafen Bros Back Our Right Opinions. You guys are awesome. Be good, stay good.
Tell me why, like a unicorn, you're still high.